Okay, on a scale 1 to 10, how uncomfortable are you? You're at a 0, so 10 is the most cringy, 0 is the least cringy. You're at a 0, so you actually weren't uncomfortable at all? You guys are definitely my youth group. Okay, here's the deal. We are so happy you are back. This is week 2 of our series, Dating Delilah. And what we talked about last week, we talked about this guy by the name of Samson. If you know anything about Samson, he was a really strong guy, but made a lot of mistakes, made a ton of mistakes, actually. And we saw him essentially make a decision that was not honoring to God because he saw something he wanted. He knew it wasn't right. His parents warned him. He knew that God in the past had warned him, but he still wanted it anyways, no matter what everyone said. And what it did is it ended up being the end of him. It ended up leading down a road of destruction. And we talked pretty heavy. Guys, I challenged you. I challenge you guys to respect women, to stop being boys, to grow and be men. Men honor women. They honor them sexually. They honor them mentally, emotionally. Honor women, but also I said to the ladies, this is on the same side to you. Be a woman that attracts the guy that you want to be with. So there's many things that go into that. You know, what you put out on social media, what pictures you put on, what you wear, those things do attract a certain kind of person. So be aware of those things as well. But needless to say, men and women, God has a specific calling for your life. And relationships in this world are so taboo. No one wants to talk about it. Well, I do, and I like making you feel uncomfortable, so I'll continue to do it. And so today we're going to do something a little different. We are going to bring up someone who has a ton of wisdom in this area. It's actually one of my good friends. His name is Reinhardt. You guys know him as our worship pastor. He was our middle school pastor. And now I'm going to welcome him on stage, and he's going to share some truth with you guys. Everyone give it up for Reinhardt.
Thanks,
buddy. Are you ready for this?
I like that I have a ton of wisdom. He's trying to say I'm old, basically.
You are more old than me.
I am older than you. Okay.
When was the last time you shaved your beard?
It's when I got married. 10 years.
When you got married?
10 years ago.
What? 10 years ago?
The pictures are on Facebook, and my wife regrets making me shave the beard because I did look stupid.
What? Okay. All right. So
I have a face that's made for a beard. I think there's other people.
You have a face made for a beard?
That's it, dude.
Yeah, that's what we all say.
That's
okay.
right.
No,
all right,
joking.
so guys,
Love
hey,
you,
it is an honor to get a chance to be up here. Hey, doing these relationship series historically has been a high impact series, and so I'm honored to get a chance to be up here and get a chance to kind of speak to you guys. And so I have a quick question. Show of hands, how many of you guys have ever been involved in a prank war of some kind, whether you are a part of it or you assisted someone else? Okay, so there's quite a few of us, and so we know how this thing works. Okay, so you know that when you first start out in a prank war, it starts off kind of low-key, starts off pretty funny, pretty harmless, like you take an Xbox controller and you throw it in a drawer that no one will ever go to, or you smear mustard on the doorknob, or if you were somebody trying to attack me, it's mayonnaise. And then you just kind of wash your hands, or you find the controller and everything's good. Everybody has a little chuckle, a little laugh, and then that's the end of it, right? But as time progresses, the pranks begin to escalate. Right? Until finally someone reaches the pinnacle where they do something so wrong or so extreme that everyone at the end of it either hates each other or there's a rift in the relationship that lasts for a very, very long time. And so when I was 20 years old, me and a group of my friends got into one of these prank wars. And just like I said, it started off super low-key, kind of fun, kind of relaxed. And as time progressed, it started getting more and more and more. And one night, me and one of my buddies decided we were going to get my friend Alan back. And so we knew his schedule. We all worked at the same place. We knew he had to be at work at 11 o'clock the next day. So he probably went to bed at like 1. And so we're like, man, we'll go over there at 2 o'clock and hit his car up, you know? And so we go to Walmart, we collect the supplies, we spend way too much money on saran wrap. If you don't know what that is, it is that plastic stuff that you stick over containers if you're trying to save some food. and we bought that. We bought the markers that you draw on people's windows. We got the little packing peanuts that you get if you order some from Amazon. It's fragile. And they shove it in the box for you. And so we got all this stuff. We collected the supplies, and we headed over to his house. And so we knew, because he drove a car that was a little bit decrepit, that his doors didn't lock. And so we went, we opened his door, we popped open his manual sunroof, and we started shoving the packing peanuts in his car. And so we didn't buy enough because, I'll be honest, they were way more expensive than I thought they were. And so we really only got from the floorboard to the seat in the front two seats. And we did that. We drew on his windows. We wrote some stuff. We whited out a couple windows. And then we took the saran wrap, the 30 boxes or whatever of saran wrap, and started running circles repeatedly around his car until you couldn't even recognize his car at all. Whoa, weird. So we did that. And it took us about an hour and 45 minutes or so to finish up messing with this car. And so we get done, we leave. There's about 1.5 inches thick of saran wrap around his car. So that's a lot, because that stuff's pretty thin. And so we leave, we go to our house, we're hanging out, and we go, man, you know what? It's not a lot of fun to prank someone if you don't get to see the reaction. And so we made this plan that we were going to show back up at about 10:30 and park far enough away to where we could just see what happens when he gets there. And so we did that. We get there, we're hanging out, we're parking far enough away, we're kind of laying back in the car, we're snickering, we're laughing, we're giggling, whatever. And we're just kind of waiting. So 10:45, Alan comes walking out of his house. And I remember he stops and he just stares at his car for a solid 3 minutes. And we're like, dude, what is happening? We're giggling, we're laughing. All of a sudden, Alan starts furiously running circles around his car, screaming at the top of his lungs. And we're like, dude, what are we going to do? And so we're starting to try to figure out where we're going to go. What's the escape route that we can get out of here? I was driving a Honda Civic at the time, and I thought I was cool because it was super loud. And so we're like, man, we can't get out of here without him noticing we're here. And so we're laying back and we're waiting. And as he's running, Alan finally gets to the passenger side of his car, and he smacks this passenger side window, and the whole thing shatters. And so he breaks his window, and keep in mind there's saran wrap. He doesn't know the packing peanuts are in there yet. So now the glass didn't fall out of the car at all. It all falls into the car. And so now he's got packing peanuts, he's got glass, he's got whiteout all over his car, he's got saran wrap, and he has to be at work in 15 minutes. And so we're sitting there, and we're waiting, and we're like, we can't leave. And so we sit in our car for 3 hours as he cleans up this mess, gets in his car, and leaves. Long story short, we leave undetected. He didn't find out it was us for a very long time, but needless to say, there was a rift in the friendship. Something that started fun, something that started lighthearted, turned into a disaster very, very quickly. So I want to ask you guys a question. Have you ever had a moment in your life where something started off lighthearted, something started off fun, started off good, and it ended in disaster? You ever had those moments? Maybe it was a prank war for you. Maybe it was a relationship that you were in. And in the beginning, it was butterflies and rainbows and unicorns and all this good stuff. And then it turns into something else. Maybe you're still in that. Maybe it was a friendship and you were like, man, I really want to be a friend with that guy or with that girl. They're awesome. And then they turn out to be toxic in your life. And today, we're going to continue reading in Judges, and we're going to kind of see what happens next to Samson. And I want to just preface this by saying I had to read this through a few different times and kind of look over this and to grasp it. And so we're going to kind of read through it. We're going to discuss it. And we're going to kind of talk about it, okay? And so we're going to start off Judges 15, 1 through 3. If you have your Bible, that's cool. Check it out. If you don't, there's a Bible app. If not, it's going to be on the screen. It says, later on, at the time of wheat harvest, Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife. He said, I am going to my wife's room, but her father would not let him go in. He said, I was so sure that you hated her that I gave her to your companion. Isn't her younger sister more attractive? Take her instead. Samson said to them, this time I have a right to get even with the Philistines. I will really harm them. And so let's think about this. Samson has his goat, right? He's walking with a goat. And at that time, if you wanted to impress somebody, you wanted to reconcile, you would take a goat or a sheep or something like that. So he has goat and tote, and he's running in there. He's hanging out with this goat. He shows up. He's like, man, I'm going to go hang out. I'm going to go see my wife. And when he goes and says this to dad, I can imagine that the room starts to get tense. The air starts to get thick. Everything's feeling a little bit heavier. It's probably very uncomfortable. So what does her dad say? He says, nah, bro. You can't go in here. Besides, I thought you hated her. I thought you hated this girl. I thought you hated your wife. Why would you want to see her? Besides, I gave her to your friend. I gave her to your companion. I gave her to this guy that you know. But I have a deal for you. I have her sister here. She's younger. She's hotter. Take her instead. And so this father tried to use manipulation, and he tried to use deception. And I'm sure that in this moment, Samson is pretty mad, as all of us would be. I want us to put ourselves in this situation. You're walking to go see your significant other. You're going to go visit your girlfriend. You're going to go visit your boyfriend. You're going to their house. You're going to their locker. You're bringing a gift. And all of a sudden, you see your bestie in your place. Okay, we'd all probably feel mad. So let's read on and see how Samson deals with this. So he went out, and he caught 300 foxes, as we all would. And he tied them tail to tail in pairs. He then fastened a torch to every pair of tails, lit the torches, and let the foxes loose in the standing grain of the Philistines. He burned the shocks and the standing grain together with the vineyards and the olive groves. And when the Philistines asked, "Who did this?" they were told, "Samson, the Timnite son-in-law, because his wife was given to his companion." So the Philistines went up there, and they burned her and her father to death. There you go. Seems pretty reasonable, right? Somebody makes you mad, you grab a bunch of foxes, you light them on fire, you have a bunch of fire foxes running around everywhere, and they're burning up all the people that did you wrong stuff. Seems pretty good. But here's the deal. Samson used his abilities and gifts selfishly here. And here's the bottom line. What started out as deception ended in disaster. Samson's he's going with his goat. Things are pretty good. His father or her father used deception and then ended in murder. I want us to read this verse together, and I want us to check this out. It says, "I am jealous for you with a godly jealousy. I promised you to one husband, to Christ, so that I might present you as a pure virgin to him." See, godly jealousy is different than sinful jealousy. Sinful jealousy at its core, sinful jealousy at its root is envious. It's a dissatisfaction with what God has provided you and a desire for what God has provided for someone else. See, God, he has a deep, deep desire for your spiritual well-being. He says, "I promised you to one husband, to Christ, so that I might present you as a pure virgin to him." See, we are the bride of Christ. We are. And Jesus is going to come back one day. Jesus is going to come back, and he's going to be looking for us just as Samson was looking for his wife. And we have to ask ourselves, are we ready? Are we ready for that day? What would he find? Would he find that you're living a life of just pursuing pleasure? Or would he find that you're living a life where you're pursuing purity? Would he find that you're going into your room at night and you're shutting the door and you're getting on your phone and you're looking at something that's inappropriate? Would he find that you are respecting the people and the relationships that you're in? Or would he find that you are only in it for yourself? What would he find? Guys, as Winston said earlier, it is time to begin treating women with respect. And women, demand the respect that you deserve. Know your value. You are loved by a God who sees more in you than you see in yourself. And that goes for the most confident people in this room and the most unconfident people in this room. If you are asking someone for inappropriate pictures, stop. If you are pressuring someone to do sexual things, stop. Know their value. Not only are you hindering the spiritual growth of yourself, but you are hindering the spiritual growth of someone else. If you are being abused, know that you deserve better. And if you see it happening, stand up for your brother and sister. Go through the proper channels to make sure that something gets done. Know your value. pursuing a life solely based on pleasure will only end in pain. Not only for you, but you will leave a path of emotional and spiritual destruction in your wake. The good news, notice a lot of heavy stuff, but there is good news. The good news is that we're all here, and it's not too late for you to choose a different path. While sin creates a feeling of fear and unrest, there is a path that leads to victory and freedom. There is a God that loves you so much, and he extends his hand to you. And all you have to do is seize it and take it. I was in a relationship, I shared this story probably a few years back. I was in a relationship for a long time, for years and years and years, that was solely based on worldly things. Our pursuits were all worldly things. Our conversations were all worldly things, and not a single bit of it revolved around God at all, or spiritual health. And when that relationship ended, it was a disaster that lasted for years. Not only was I destroying myself, but I was destroying people that were around me. And it wasn't until I began pursuing a life of purity in self and in mind and in community and in love and in faith that I met my wife. It wasn't until then. God extends his hand to you. Take it. Truth is, to take his hand, you do not have to be perfect. In fact, I'll be honest, I don't know a single perfect person. But know your value. We are just a bunch of flawed people that are worth loving. You are worth loving. God, we're thankful for you. We're thankful for a God who loves us in ways that we do not understand. We're thankful for a God who extends a hand no matter how much we've messed up. He extends a hand to us and says, I love you, come to me. We're thankful that we serve a God of second chances, of third chances, fourth chances, fifth chances. We're thankful that we serve a God who wants best for us, who is on our side and tells us that we are valued. God, be with us tonight. Be with us as we go into groups. Guide our conversations. Guide our week. Thank you for loving us. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.